All right, so we'll call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. For the capital improvement plan committee presentation. So I guess what we can just kind of get walked through this process.
Could we do some introductions?
Absolutely. Yep.
All set?
All set.
Okay.
Yes.
So the agenda has been approved. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I've been a long couple of days. Thank you. Yeah. So
I'll make a motion. We accept the amended agenda. Thank you.
all right, we have a motion.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now if we could do the introductions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the 2023 CIP Committee of members and the committee members, Gabby O'Toole, Pat O'Brien, Guy Maloney, Roger Sample, Andrew Moss, and myself, we are pleased and honored to present to you the CIP's committee's updated 2023 through 2028 capital improvement plan. Mr. Chairman, as you know, for the last 3 or 4 years, the CIP committee has been charged with addressing the ongoing capital improvements of the town in a thoughtful, transparent, and fiscally conservative way. The committee's charge has been to encourage thoughtful conversation with each and every department head in the town to ascertain their capital improvement and equipment needs to have an orderly and productive abilities to service the town's citizens on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. In that light, we met with all the department heads this year. We were fortunate enough to have our town planner work with those department heads, and we met with them on many different occasions. And we even got the school superintendent to join us this year, which was an anomaly for us. And of course, it was only his first year the year before, so he was a little disjointed, but he certainly, we welcomed him this particular year, and hopefully that will last for more years coming up. So the goal of the capital improvement committee is to try to mitigate any surprises for the town over the years that now and in the future, so that hopefully the tax impact base is kept at a steady level while making sure that we're giving the department heads the tools that they need to perform their functions for the town and the town's citizens. We've tried to balance that over the years through a 5-year plan so that we continue to roll that plan through. So the plan in itself is very flexible and has the opportunity for the planning board and the board of selectmen to ultimately make changes throughout the year as needed, but this is more of a tool as a guide and nothing more than a guide. But it does give you visibility to what the needs are from what the department heads are saying that their needs are to take care of our citizenry. as we go through this, the first 2 pages are basically a summary of all of the next 9 pages, which is the more detailed portion of each department head's needs for over the next 5 years. What I think is important to note is that virtually almost 70 cents of the $1.05 that we're suggesting for this particular year, and 70 cents going forward, has to do with construction and maintenance of our highways. So 70 cents of every, let's call it $1, for simplistic purposes, is being spent on road maintenance and road reconstruction. I think that's an important number because it's $1 of impact, but it's 70 cents that goes to specifically to the road maintenance and upgrades of the roads, which is very important to the town and very important to our citizenry. So it doesn't really go to equipment. It doesn't go to capital improvements of, let's say, this building and whatnot. We spend that every single year. And what the committee over the last couple of years looked at was how do we help the superintendent of the highway department to be able to continue to maintain and grow that fund. And we've done it in what I think is a balanced and conservative look forward of raising each year by approximately $100,000 from last year. We started at $1,250,000, and each year we've gone and increased it by about $100,000, taking into effect, especially with asphalt and road construction, inflationary pressure. So with that said, all of the other 35 cents is allocated to fire, highway, police, IT, all of the parks and recreation, assessing, the town administration building, and a few other areas of concern, which basically has said to us that we believe that the town, through good management, is in a very good order now, and hopefully, if we continue on this path, it will stay that way. Yes, Roger.
I was on the CIP committee, but now I'm at a loss here. You said that 70 cents wasn't equipment, that was just road?
If you look at the numbers, that's why I wanted to mention it to you, that out of the $1.05 that is the total impact that we're suggesting for 23. In 24, it's about $1.06. In 27, it's $1.07. In 25, I'm sorry, and in 26, it's $1.10, and in 27, it's $1.07. But if you look at the numbers, Roger, 70 something odd cents of it, if you look at item in the highway department, okay, the 1.3 million for 23. Okay, just as an example, that's the first page. First page. Okay, about 10 lines down, you'll see that $1 million recommending $1.3 million be spent in highway reconstruction and maintenance. And if you look at the number, that's the tax rate impact is 69, almost 70 cents of it.
That's just road reconstruction.
Maintenance and road reconstruction.
So all the trucks and graders and loaders and all that stuff comes out of the other 35 cents?
That's right.
So how would that compare to neighboring towns?
I have no idea.
So we don't have any benchmarks, whether that's
I don't
on
have a
target
benchmark
or,
for that. However, if we look back over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. The same, it's the same percentage. Okay. But
so it's been consistent.
I've never really mentioned this before. And it dawned on me that I should mention this to the board because it's a significant number.
And we don't have a clue whether that, relative to benchmarks in local community are high, low, or right on target relative to.
I have no idea if that's high or low. What it also suggested to me was that we've been very prudent in terms of how we have managed buying our equipment.
Just because you're saying it's 30% for all the other pieces beyond
It's
the
only
highway
been
maintenance.
30%, okay, of our budgeted number.
That's for everything beyond concrete, beyond the asphalt. It's not just for the highway department.
Right.
It's for everything. Fire department, the 30% is.
The 30,
What's the total spend, Frank?
I'm sorry?
What's the total spend?
23 million is what.
Yeah, so, I wanted to just, because we're talking roughly 70 cents of the increase is going toward highway.
Oh, is that
It's
what
not
it
an
is?
increase.
Not an increase.
Not an increase.
70 cents
No, Drew.
of the dollar.
70
Of the
cent-
$1.05
of the dollar.
increase.
We're recommending the impact on the tax base to be $1.05.
Yeah.
Okay.
70
Of
cents
that
of that.
$1.05, approximately 65 cents right now. 65 cents is going to to the reconstruction and maintenance of our roads.
You know what would really bring it out crystal clear is a pie chart.
What
Pie chart
pie chart?
would, boom, it would hit people over the head. So they see exactly how little everything else is and where that big chunk is.
And it makes sense that we have a ton of roads in this town.
And town roads, whereas like Wolfboro has state roads.
We have town roads and we don't have as many association roads as Wolfboro, So, but I thought it's a number that this board really needs to think about and understand it. I never mentioned it before in the last couple of years. I never thought about it. When I was looking at the numbers, I said, oh my God, that's a significant number.
And it's 70% roughly of 23 million over the next 5 years. Or is it
Correct.
23? Correct. So Frank, help me out. On the second page here, it looks like something might be wrong. I go 23 through 28, which is 6 years. But it's 2 million a year roughly. You're saying the total spend will be 23 million, but that only adds up to 12. Am I missing something? The red line, about 15 lines down.
Which page you on?
The second page.
So,
Third of the page down.
so Mark, that red line includes all of the departments.
The 23 is all the departments.
Inclusive of the school system as well or not?
That's fine. I mean, I get that. Right, but then if you break down the 23 over the years, it says it's going to be spent 2 million, 2 million, 2 million for the next 6 years.
So that 23 million is the gross capital cost of all of the projects.
For the 5 years.
That doesn't necessarily mean that's
6
the
years.
number that's being written out in warrant articles. That's just how much all of the projects cost.
But the spread
Total.
across the years, Jessica, seems wrong, right? So if you take.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, that doesn't.
Yeah, that
That is. I should assume
23
that is
million.
wrong.
Yeah, that 23 million is just, that's just an informational number as to how much, if we did all of those projects, that's how much it would cost.
So
That
what-
doesn't reflect these numbers going across.
So
What do the 2 million numbers mean then?
So the 2 million, so that's the so that's how much is going to be,
it's the plan, right?
yeah, so
The
that's,
annual
those are the
plan.
withdrawal amounts.
Those are withdrawal
Yep,
amounts
so the red. all right,
against the
hold on a
23.
second.
Could we go back to me?
But
those-
What's going to be spent, what's going to be spent in 2023, all departments, including the highway, would be 2,280,000.
Well, can I ask, how much are we spending in 2022? We're 3/4 of the year.
Yeah, that was on last year's plan.
If you're,
Sorry?
Frank, if you're spending 2,280,000 for 23, and I know it's a rounded number, and about the same for the 5 years after, that doesn't add up to the 23 million.
It doesn't, no, this number,
It's not supposed to.
it's not supposed to add up to that number,
So
okay?
just so I'm clear, the 23 million, I'm just going to use round numbers, but the 23 million is the annual expenditures of the town.
Today, already.
Yeah,
Oh.
roughly.
No,
Give
you
or-
don't know that. That's a projection. It's
Right,
not,
right, give or take, right?
Okay.
So
The-
that
the
2 million
two-
is the deposit amount.
Positive.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
So the 2
deposit.
million is of the tax income, that 2 million is being deposited into these various,
yep. So all those green numbers that you see, that's where that 2 million comes from, all those deposits.
So is this an ask above budget? Is that what you're saying? Can you explain what that means? I'm sorry.
See, the problem I have is there's no reference to expenditures 2022 and how much has been spent this year.
Would help. That's
Okay, so in
Yeah, it's
20,
never been, like the current year it's never been on the plan.
But yeah, I don't know, from an accounting practice, how do you get away with doing that? I mean.
We're not interested in the present, we're interested in the future.
Well, I'm damn interested in how much we're spending on an
Well, yeah,
annual
but that's a
basis.
whole different thing, though.
Not to my way of thinking, not in the businesses I've run in the past. You know, how can you build a projection to the future when you don't know what you're spending as a baseline
okay,
today?
so in 2022, in 2022, I believe we spent of the tax base, 96 cents for the entire budget for
So almost the
2022.
entire appropriation of what
So
had
it
been
was
planned.
approximately 2 million bucks,
Okay.
give or take, okay? Don't hold me to
Yeah,
exactly.
okay,
But it was
But-
hard, and if you look at 22, the projection that we had for 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27, okay, we tried to normalize that at $1 of taxable of impact of $1 per thousand, okay? That was in 22. It's not on here, but it was approximately 96 cents. So what we did here, okay, is we've always moved forward, but I do understand what you're saying. How do we probably, for the next time around, should make sure that we have 23 in there as a reference
And
to
then
where
check
we.
your levels of expenditure by department and
Term-
see that
right.
everyone's staying to what the, the
Exactly.
appropriation was.
Just so that there's a reference point, which is,
That's a good idea.
which I think is an excellent idea, so that there's a reference to the previous year and where we're going forward.
So the increase in spend then is about 8 or 9%,
Because-
somewhere in the middle of that.
Well, we were taking into consideration inflation and what the department heads were they're
I was
asking.
just going to be my next point is that, in this, with the price of crude oil right now and how that translates into asphalt and everything else, frankly, you may be under budgeted for 2023 relative to CapEx that you're looking at putting into this.
And we may
plan.
be, we may be, and that means that the head of the highway department is going to have to balance that and say, okay, there are certain things I may not be able to do. And that will be up to the Board of Selectmen and the planning board, okay, in terms of how much more they may want to spend over and above what we've put in here. We've tried to balance it, saying this is what we think is appropriate, including inflation. And I'm going to tell you, we put a number on inflation for each year at about 5%, hoping that we'll see some change in that inflation number coming, lessening in, let's call it in 25, 26, 27, from what it is today. That's what we're
What
hoping.
the overall increase was in the overall budget?
I'm sorry?
The overall budget for the town, what the increase was from last year, this year, or is planned?
Not entirely sure. I know the budgets haven't been in front of the budget committee yet.
So it's an 8 or 9% increase over last year.
On the capital improvement.
Capital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
on
you
the
don't know
capital
that what that is relative to 22 expenditure, which is, to me, is
Well, we think
where
it's
you
got-
need to.
The,
I think if we back into Frank's number, right, we're at 96 cents.
so let me share with
Gonna
you
pull up last
what
year's plan.
becomes a moving target, Doug, is that this is just a tool and a benchmark and guidance. What
It's a little
the
loose, yeah.
selectmen decide to do
Yeah.
is a totally different story. An example, last year, we didn't budget a fire truck, a ladder truck. They went out and bought one.
Yeah.
You know, so we took it
Seems a
off.
little loose on
We-
the checks and
we-
balances to me.
You know, so, but they got a great deal, okay? And, you know, and if that ladder truck lasts the 3, 4, or 5 years that, that they're hoping that it will do, then it was a great buy for the town. We eliminated $1 million something for a new ladder truck, or we moved it out, you know,
So they replaced it with a used one?
a used one.
That's what our first one was.
So,
So the 1.2 million for the ladder truck here really isn't right then.
In 2025?
It's
Yes.
between 2023 and 2028. Yeah, you're right, 2025.
2025.
Yes,
We
so they're
moved it
they're
out.
budgeting for that.
We moved it out. It was in,
On the one they bought, they moved the money out.
when we moved, they spent, I don't know, 150 grand.
I think, so the used one was, I think, 700,000, 750,000. So they bought that for now, as they're saving all money up to buy a
They
brand
asked
new
us for
one
another
in
1 million
2025.
something.
Yep.
So we spent 750 to get to one.
So
Rough-
we
roughly.
were able to move that out and do some different things with it and try to control the tax base to this $1, $1.05, $1.10 impact, so that we can keep normalize the tax base and try to keep it in check. The other good news is most of the equipment for the highway department has been bought over the last few years. And you'll see that there's a lot less going into the highway department in terms of money for equipment.
Yeah, it looks like
It's great.
this year alone, they've spent close to, a little over 400,000 on equipment.
Right. So we were able to, but we never know from year to year what the change is going to be. So this thing is always a moving target. Again, it's just a guide.
So, and then just to, so my edification again, the capital reserve fund balance that's on here, which shows 4.5 million, is that the balance that's projected at year end 2022? So I'm looking at the top second page, take the capital reserve balances. Does that mean the town has 4.5 million in monies accrued for capital expenditure on the books today?
Yes, that's existing.
Yes.
And that number was from the end of August.
So that's quote 2022 plan then.
So, right, so from the end of August to December, I mean, there's still gonna be more of those
Right.
existing funds to be spent, so it won't be 4 million as
Oh,
of
so is that
January.
expenditure or is that a plan again?
So that's actual funds, that 4 million
Okay.
would exist as of the end of August. So then you still have the rest of the year for those funds to be spent on whatever it was, tagged for
Okay.
initially.
That 4 million is not going to get spent though. Some of
That's,
it-
well, that's my experience in most capital plans is that whether it's in a business or in a town, usually most of the CapEx doesn't get spent. And then you need to kind of factor that in to how you go forward in terms of the next year, in terms of how much you really need to accrue or allot for capital expenditure. Doesn't hurt to spend less.
No.
It
and
doesn't.
Keeping a little cushion too is also good.
It doesn't hurt to spend less. However, what has been consistent though, is that we are spending quite a bit of money on our roads.
I think this is a significant
Something-
point.
it-
Yeah.
Yes.
We're spending, and I think that's in many respects, you either are going to pay the piper at some point if you don't maintain the roads and continue to do it's very obvious to our citizenry what our roads look like. They're driving them every single day,
Yeah.
and it isn't just the state highway road. It's our,
But it still doesn't hurt to, have some benchmarks relative to other communities, whether that's in line or not.
I don't think it does, but I don't know how we get that information. We'll have to.
So whether
we'll
it should
have
be
to look
50
into
cents
it.
on a dollar or 70, I mean, you just don't know, if it's the right level of expenditure in a sense, right?
Right. We could research other towns' CIP plans and see what they have.
Everything it's based on, the number of miles of road that are not maintained by the state.
Right.
It's tough to compare it. And we happen to have one of the highest number of miles of roads in the town of Alton in the state. I think it's like third or fourth. So, I mean, it puts the town at a slight disadvantage.
Well,
So trying to compare it,
If you knew it was a percentage increase over what was going on before and match that up against the other towns, that would be interesting.
yes, we do have a large amount of roads, but it's the number that's important is how much road we do. I mean, if Barnstead does 2 miles of road, Alton does 2 miles of road, those are the two numbers you want to match, what they did it for, and what we did it for. That has nothing to do with we got 6 times more roads than they do because we're only doing so much a year, and that number is based on a year's efforts.
Well, I do
And
know.
that should be readily available.
Simply from listening to neighboring town people in neighboring towns, they want to drive through Alton rather than through their town because the roads are better maintained in Alton,
Well,
especially in the winter.
Oh,
from a philosophical and technical standpoint, our new superintendent of highway takes a different approach than the person that was doing it for the last 10 years. And his is a different methodology that he's testing out and working on. And it remains to be seen whether or not that methodology will prove to be more successful than our previous superintendent of highways.
I think Roger hit the key point is, how many miles of road was recovered or resurfaced relative to, the dollar expenditure? And how does that look relative to a Wolfboro or Guilford or whoever it may be? And see that, we're paying a fair price,
Well, that, and the other consideration is, I mean, because we've done both. We've hired it out.
It's always subbed out anyway, I suspect, right?
Well, no,
No,
we
no,
do
it's
it,
not.
we do it, other than the asphalt, we pretty much do it ourselves.
Okay.
So, but we have had other, people do it. I mean, Earth did Alton Mountain Road. So I mean, there's 2 different ways where they can do it. So that's another thing that you got to look at.
My only point is that the 70 cents, which is a significant, I fully agree with that. Is that a good number or is that a bad number? You just don't know. As far as a benchmark.
But historically, we've been spending that with the old
That still
superintendent.
doesn't mean it's a good number or a bad.
Well, teachers in school, they say, well, I got to order this paper, even though I don't need it, because I won't get it next year.
So the methodology that, what was his name? Is it,
Kenny Roberts.
I'm sorry.
Kenny Roberts, is that the name you're looking for?
His methodology was, I can build for $1 million so many miles of road. That was his methodology. And that's what he did for a long time. What he didn't do, and what the new superintendent looks at, is he didn't do as much maintaining of the roads. Ditches, culverts, things of that nature. The new methodology that our new Scott is, he wants to do a combination of new roads, okay? And he wants to maintain more than he was ever done before. Because if he maintains them, he thinks he'll keep them in
Longevity
better
better.
shape longer.
Well, that's a balancing act.
And it's a balance. It's a balance. I don't know which is right. Okay. And I think he has to experiment on that. But what we've tried to do is to give him the money to go and do some of those things, knowing full well that he won't spend it all in that year. He may utilize a little here, a little there and whatnot, and hopefully be prudent about it. You know, I mean, an example, Roberts Cove Road was just paved, a week ago. That was still in the budget of August. It's gone now, or it will be gone, and it was pretty sizable. I mean, they finished both top layers on that, but that road should, in any given sense, the way the road was built and whatnot, that should give us a good 10, 12 years before we have to really look at that. I'm hoping. We'll see. Anyways, but I take your point very well, Doug. What we'll try to do for the next go around is have 23 in front of you, okay, and see how we can measure that, okay, going forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Again, maybe I'll have one about lifespan of equipment.
Look at the ladder truck, right? So can I ask a question on the ladder truck? I was gonna save it, but we bought the used ladder truck in 2022. Is that right?
Yes.
For $750,000. That's gonna last us through 2025.
That's,
But the ladder trucks have 20-year lifespans. So the new one is $60,000 a year. The one we bought used for 3 years is 250, say it's 4 years even, close to $200,000 a year, as opposed to 60 a year if we had just bought new. Per these numbers. And I know there's more to the story. I'm sure there is.
Right, and they're gonna get a trade-in value on that one as well,
Oh, they do?
that used one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty
Okay, so I'm
sure,
missing
I'm
part
pretty
of the
sure that
story.
that's,
Well, I guess
That's
that's,
what the chief said.
the depreciation and how that factors into this stuff is.
Well, at
what you don't see.
20 years, you buy new for $60,000 a year, right? As opposed to,
so one of my questions to
It's
the
a-
fire chief was, how long do you think you can have that ladder truck for? He said, I'd like to keep it until 27.
I'd encourage them to keep it longer.
Well, the trouble is that the first one we had, it all depends on what happens to the truck. And it was the turntable was the
All
problem.
right. well,
And trying to get it fixed, it was gonna cost more to get it repaired.
okay.
So,
Well,
There's a
life
balance-
happens.
Yes.
There's a balance to it. And then what is the truck worth in terms of getting rid of it at a certain point? Okay, in terms of the
repair maintenance on it versus.
I'm talking about the repair. What can we get for that truck on the open market? Or as a
Trade-in.
trade-in, So all those things, factors are put into it. And you want to know something? At the end of the day, it's a board of selection decision.
So that was going to be my question. So does the selectmen sign off on?
They do. Okay.
So
I had no
checks and
idea,
balances are
had
there.
no
then.
idea that truck was going to be bought.
I mean, I'm relatively new to the town, but it's just trying to see that, we have checks and balances and
Well,
how.
Doug, good luck.
Well, the key is that it's a planning device for the selectmen.
It is. This is just a tool.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a requirement for certain applications for applying for different.
Yeah.
It's the taxpayer.
When you look at it, fire and highway are your tough areas. And, the police department's pretty simple, IT's pretty simple, the assessing departments are all pretty simple. It's some vehicles. Okay, that's about it. And radios and fire's tough and highway's tough.
Right.
We've spent a lot of money in the last 4 or 5 years in the highway department, and we have brand new equipment, and that should last a goodly amount of time. We're also doing leasing now, which we never did before. Okay, and there's a balance there. Okay, we'll see how that all goes. Okay,
The quality of the equipment also reflects what the rate of insurance is in the town. So, it's a factor that you have to consider, that if you don't have some of this equipment, people's insurance rates go up. So it's important.
good point.
So I think,
Drew?
so I'm clear on this. This used ladder truck that they bought is a 99. What year is it?
Yes, 1999, yep.
With a 20-year lifespan? Wouldn't that be 2029?
No,
Yeah,
20-year lifespan would be 2019.
You're right.
And they
You're
paid
right.
3/4 of what they bought a new one.
Right.
So they bought one that was beyond an expected lifespan for the bargain price of $750,000.
We have no idea. I have no idea what kind of mileage or anything else, condition or anything else. It may not have been used. I don't know.
This says with a plan of only 3 or 4 years, right? And it depends when it was bought, so maybe 4 years. So you
Again-
still throw the 4 years into the 750 as opposed to 20 years.
pretty
into the
sketchy,
million,
I
too.
gotta
say.
I think the idea was to get something in hand.
Correct, because, Alton was borrowing a ladder truck with other towns.
It's just the
Again,
mass way off.
That was not certainly
Something's really
the
wrong.
committee's decision. Somebody
Glad you brought
made
it
that decision.
I'm glad you.
What a selectman level.
Right, but so after that expenditure, they still had $375,000 in their capital reserve fund.
That's correct.
So they had over $1 million in their capital reserve fund. It almost seems like it would have made more sense to,
Well, we don't know whether they were planning on different other trucks as well. I don't know. Fire trucks aren't cheap.
no, they're not. They're not. I know that.
But you're still going to have a significant expenditure not too far down the road is my take on this.
2025 for that one.
Well, depending on what the condition of it is, I guess.
Well, the chief must have, you met the chief of the department. He must have put these numbers and told you what years.
Did?
So
Yes,
2025.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
This is good stuff, Frank.
Sorry.
This is good stuff. It looks like a lot of work.
Well, thank you. And may I say at this point, it would not be possible without the absolute effort on Jessica's part to corral the department heads
Does hurt.
and get them to actually, we have worksheets. Roger will tell you that, and each department submits their requests so that we have them from year to year to year. Okay, and I commend Jessica for the hard work that she's done in getting this put together so that the committee can stay efficient and focused on trying to pull this all together and make some sense of it. So thank you, Jessica. It, again, this summary and this CIP plan will always be in flux, always. So it needs to take I just felt, and the other thing that we have to take into consideration, there is nothing in this, as I said last year, there's nothing in this plan that has to do with any capital improvements with the exception of like 40 or 50 grand in this building on any capital improvements or reserves for any new buildings that we may want to, that the master plan or the town may want to incorporate.
So how did those get captured?
They're not captured in
They're not
this.
captured at all.
That's what I hear.
Not captured at all.
And our hope is to
And we're
do
talking
that
some,
next year.
you know, hopefully with the master plan coming out, we'll be able to capture that. And then some hard decisions are going to have to be made about how do we reserve for those,
If you want to keep the tax rate flat.
if we want to keep the tax rate down.
How does the master plan weigh into it?
Master plan is going to tell us what the citizens actually are looking for the future, I would imagine. What the citizens say they would like to see. Now, whether or not we can afford it or not is another story. Or how do we afford it? You have a bond issue that's getting finished with the school this year. So are there available dollars for that? Yeah, but does that increase our tax impact? Absolutely. You know, so it's going to be a delicate balance. There's no question about it. But there is nothing in this that has to do with facilities.
This all falls at Jessica's doorstep.
Pretty much.
And do we need those facilities? I mean, I don't know. The citizen groups will need to express their opinion.
But it does make for, I think that one of the primary purposes is trying to keep the tax rate at a level rate rather than having this bouncing
Right.
like we did for years and years and years.
Right.
But it's only recently Scott and I were on the CIP for years and we'd present it to the selectmen, and they'd say, oh, that's nice, and just put it on the table. And it was never used. So that it is now being used. I mean, the selectmen came back to us and said 3 years ago, we really think we need this. So it is, and you have an idea of how much work it is. So, but
it's work, but again, it's just a guide, and it's never going to be anything more than that.
no, but it is at the same time a great education on the town.
I would recommend that the CIP committee continue to stay in place.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I think it's a good exercise and it's a good tool for the selectmen, for the planning board, and for any citizen to know where the money is being spent. Okay, because I'm constantly hearing from citizens in our town, where the hell do you spend all that money? And I say, I didn't spend it. You spent it. We all spent it. All right. But at least this gives
This is a future. This is not money that is spent. This is what we hope to spend.
So the biggest thing it does is it shows how it can be done responsibly,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is what, it would take to responsibly do this. And then when the town is just putting out the bucks like nobody's business, that you have a scale as to, well, it should have only cost this. Why is it this amount?
Doesn't the town run off a budget? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm new to all this. And do we have a finance committee? Is there a finance committee in town? No.
We have a budget committee.
We do,
Yeah.
so we do put
Yes.
together a budget.
Yep.
And is this a piece that will feed into that budget? It's gotta be, right?
They will look at
Doesn't
it.
sound like it. That's where I was gonna go, because this should have more teeth in it, frankly. I mean, when you put a plan like this together, I'd expect that the town has to kind of follow what you deem to be the required capital expenditure for that year.
This is a planning.
And not buy a ladder truck?
Yeah,
On a whim?
it's just a budgeting tool. And it changes every year. And that's what a CIP plan is.
Budget committee is in a sense, the
Yeah.
financial committee.
But, so let me just give you, so hypothetically, does the highway department, are they limited to 2 million in CapEx for 2023? What I hear is that it's on a piece of paper.
I don't think we know that till the budget gets approved, right?
Right.
Well, but you've got a planned CapEx in here that says that's what they're earmarked to spend.
I thought, Doug, that this was the ask from the department heads. It sounds like this is the ask from the department heads that will wind up going to the budget committee, and a budget will be created. And if the budget has to be reduced by 10% or whatever, that's the debate.
So
I don't think anyone, what I heard, I guess, is the one push back and say, well, you need to take 10% off of that number. It sounds like whatever the department heads put in is what gets rolled up.
Right. But then the budget committee and the selectmen are the ones that cut.
Do they cut it?
Yes.
Or challenge it?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
All right, okay,
and it can be challenged at deliberative session
right,
as well.
okay.
So it's a constant, there are numerous opportunities after the planning board recommends the CIP plan
Okay.
to the selectmen and the budget.
And we
I'm
go,
new to the
Change,
process,
yeah,
okay,
it can
so-
change,
When-
it can
when
we
change
go
yet
fiscal
again.
year, right? January through December.
Yes.
When we first,
Budget.
when we first started the,
And hey,
this year's
Budget. be-
this year's numbers. We were at $1.56. That's where we were at.
And you've whittled it down.
And we whittled it down to $1.05
So that's that separation between the wants and the needs.
needs. And manipulating where some of the equipment was going to be bought.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of what year, okay?
When you
know,
can
and-
afford it.
and asking the tough questions, okay? Because I'll give you another, what gets to be a little bit confusing is there are funds like in the fire department that come from funds being raised through the ambulances and things of that nature that discounts the buys. Okay.
Revenues, yeah.
In terms of what we have to spend. It's the same thing in a couple of other areas, you know, in the schools. I'm telling you, with the school, Roger and I, we were still trying to figure out how they got all that asphalt down, okay? And where did the money come from, you know? And I still not sure I understood where it came from, okay?
Or why it needed to come.
And why it needed
That
to
was
come,
my question.
Yeah.
why it was needed, okay? But
Water
was
was
spent.
everywhere.
it was spent, you know?
And they're gonna do it again. That was just half the job.
Yeah, that's only phase one of three. That's phase one of three. I'm saying to myself, where did that money come from?
Which school is this?
The high
The
school.
high school.
High school, Prospect Mountain. And
They-
some of it
they
probably
not
comes
only-
through
they didn't
grants
just
and that you have
repave
to
over.
We got a
spend.
grant
Round it
here and
all
we
up
got
and
this over
repave the
here
whole thing.
and pandemic money over here and we were able to use it. I'm saying to myself, gotta be shitting me. Okay, excuse my language, but I mean,
Oh,
you know,
we'll have to
okay.
bleep that one out.
you know, okay, but it didn't come out of tax. It wasn't a tax impact.
Yeah, right.
Oh, boy, you know,
Magic.
yeah. Woo.
Hey, Frank,
No.
how did you come up with the $1.05 or the $1.05, 1047 or whatever it was?
How did we come up with it?
Yeah, is that a number you were given or is that a number you guys came up with?
No, that's another, we started off at $1.56. Okay, and
Where's the $1.56 come from?
That, so that
it
came
was-
from each
it was-
department,
It was
right?
all the asks
Right.
and when they wanted it,
So
okay?
why is $1.05 the right number? Is
It's
that
not,
like,
okay.
it's
what
just
we-
the number you got to?
The number
Yes.
we were trying to get to was under $1.
That's kind of been the goal in the town forever,
It's
you know, is
always
this.
been to be under $1
Mhm.
for every 1,000 for capital improvements. But because of inflation, we just couldn't get there, you know, and be responsible.
So the budget we think is around $1. but we're at $1.05. Oh, well, we don't know really.
No, we don't know that.
We don't know yet. All right, all right.
But it should be close to that. I mean, based on historical standards as well.
Gotta be close to $1, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't be running my businesses like this. I mean, this is nuts.
It's a little nuts, but you know what? This is feeding the planning process, right? And this is going to feeding to whoever's coming up with the budget. Makes sense to me. Some of the numbers look a little wacky, like the fire truck, but makes sense to me.
Yeah. I in another life, in another life, I owned the American LaFrance company. And it was interesting to see how that company got disintegrated because of competition throughout, the world. It was an incredible company. It was owned by Harry Figge, and I ended up buying it. And I wish I hadn't.
But that's why benchmarks are so important at the end of the day.
It is.
That's
And
why
I-
your question.
And I think it's a very good point. So we'll make sure of it coming up.
But we should see 2022 because the increase I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
is also
yeah.
important.
I mean, it's nothing for us to keep the 2022 and say, okay, this was what the benchmark was. I mean, and where did we spend the money? Yeah. Just a little bit more work for Jessica,
That's right. The lettering's gonna be smaller, so try to squeeze on another year in there.
Any other questions? If not, there you have it, and we'll be presenting it to the,
So it's for informational purposes to the planning board, and then it goes to the selectmen for approval. Is that?
it's
Actually,
informational
it has to be accepted by the planning.
planning board, because we're a subcommittee to you guys. Okay, so you have to accept it, and then we make a presentation to
Then we have to have a
the,
But
public
we actually
hearing.
send it to the selectmen,
Yeah.
That's
not
right.
the CIP.
Okay.
We have a public hearing, and after the public hearing, then we send it over to the selectmen. So
So
Yeah,
I have,
right. So tonight, the CIP committee's handing off the plan to the planning board, and then tonight, you guys will schedule a public hearing, which normally happens at the November planning board meeting. And then, you have public input. And
Okay.
you get to go in depth, more depth if you need to, and
so I've got just one, I don't know even how to begin to do this, but if you were to move that next ladder truck purchase to 2027, what does that do to the rate? Because obviously that means it's less money that needs to be contributed to that capital reserve fund over that period of time. I don't know if that magically has some reduction that is a penny, 2 pennies. I have no idea.
well, if you move it out,
Yeah.
it becomes pretty significant.
Because obviously your objective is for that capital reserve fund to reach that balance of 1.28. You have it currently in 24. You wouldn't need that kind of a balance till 26.
okay, so I just moved it out. And now we can look at the end result of that.
You can look at the tax rate.
Can't see that far.
So.
Nothing.
3.
Hold on a second here.
It's like it went down 0.005.
Half a penny.
Half a penny. Although I'd only.
You had to go out more.
Yeah, it had to, because it didn't,
I didn't know how it changes the distribution, that's all.
yep,
So
okay.
I still think it's a worthwhile notation. trying to get a little more life out of a $750,000 purchase in a few years just makes me feel a little better.
Well, I think that, the concept is, it's a guess.
I understand, yeah.
And as we're talking of the idea of the trade-in has some use, but the town actually has something physical to use right now.
And
That's the key factor for our zoning code or the building code of a maximum height of 35 feet. You need a 75-foot ladder truck to reach it. So that's the logic behind it.
So along that logic of we're going to get a trade-in, how is that then reflected in the contributions to the capital reserve fund? So we're just simply raising taxes, and I get it, it's just a plan, I get it. But we're raising taxes each year to achieve the retail purchase price of something, and we're not taking into account the trade-in value,
Yeah.
if you will.
Well, we don't know what the trade-in value is going to be.
Right, and we also don't know what the cost is going to be in 2020.
And we have no idea how long it's going to last.
But I would
5,
carry that
6,
one
7.
further point further. I mean, nor are we encouraging them to extend the service lifetime of the vehicle potentially.
So it was last year or the year before, it was the Board of Selectmen that wanted this ladder truck purchased at a specific time. They said, put away this much money each year so that it can be purchased in 2025. So that came from the selectmen.
But that was prior to the purchase of an interim ladder truck.
I think that was throughout that same discussion. And someone can correct me if I'm not right.
But that, if I heard Tom right, there was an unforeseen mechanical problem with that old truck.
Yeah, but I mean, and then we had to use the loaner.
Right.
I mean, we do have mutual aid anyway, but still.
But then then you need to play with your capital appropriations across departments if you've got unforeseen expenses like
Right.
that.
You can buy a ladder truck in 1999. Or it's got to be more than 750, right? Do these things appreciate?
I can tell you they're going
They
up
don't.
now.
They can't, right? So if in 1999 you were buying a ladder truck for way more than 750, although the value of it's still 750 now.
I think the 1.2 million represents what the trade-in, it's going to be 1.2 million of expenditure
After the trade.
after the trade-in.
Well, I don't see how they could do that, because like you say, you don't know what the trade, what the trade.
Again, it has to be a guess, because,
It's a guesstimate, okay? What this does say to you, though, if you look at what the fire department is looking at, is that by 2027, we'll have spent a ton of money on fire equipment that we shouldn't be spending a lot of money for the next 15, 20 years, okay?
Oh, they'll come up with the same.
Yes, they will.
I think I'm in Roger's camp, but I mean, it's like,
Plus
why-
this-
problem
But
with
do you
the-
see, you see where I'm going here? Because that's exactly what has happened with the highway department. If you look at the highway department right now, the last 3 or 4 years, we spent a ton of money there, and we've reduced their spend considerably.
but we hope if they bought a lot in the last 2 or 3 years, we want to stagger those purchases further out so that you want to replace one truck at a time. You don't want to replace a whole bunch.
But that was not what was done.
But Frank, doesn't this say the exact opposite of what you just said? Even just the front page of this, right? You're saying because they spent the money, the highway department spend should go down for the next few years. And this is saying it's going to go up.
It's going up because we're spending it on the roads.
for the
On the
asphalt.
roads. Okay,
We're
thanks.
spending it on the roads. That's why it's going up.
Now they got
We're
the
not
equipment, they're
spending it
gonna
on
put
the
it to
equipment.
work.
Not spending on equipment.
And gravel is more expensive. Everything is.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I
but we're
mean, energy
spending it
costs,
on the roads, okay? That's where.
But
where
the
it's going.
equipment line is like 4 of it, that's going up too. Highway department equipment to be purchased. Bouncing around.
Yeah, because if you go to the continuation pages,
Go to,
they're showing their first real expenditure doesn't occur until 2025. So no new equipment.
go to page 5. 5, go to page 5, okay? Look at 23, 24, 25, virtually very little spent. And even in 26, it's only 178 grand, okay? You know? 28 is nothing. So
27, they've got a couple of big purchases, but
we bought, Ken Winters bought in 1 year, either 2 or 3 dumps that were like 200 grand a piece.
Yeah, we had some failures.
We did, but we spent some heavy dollars. So the fire department was next in, basically in line, you know, they held off. And now we're trying to play catch up here, okay? But it's a balance. I gotta be honest with you, I was totally shocked when I heard about this ladder truck being bought, you know, saying, whoa, that just blew our CIP, you know? It blew it big time, but that was a decision that the selectmen made and, you know, and that's why I asked the fire chief, can you push out that 1.2 million couple of years? you
But it
know?
sounds like the committee did challenge across the board. If you were at $1.59, you said
We were at $1.56.
56. Okay.
Yeah.
So the wish list was quite a bit longer than what's here.
I think we did a good job. Again, the whole goal was to try to stay close to that buck.
Well, isn't it also part of each department doesn't know what the other ones are doing?
No,
And,
yeah.
but you as a central focus point can point out what is happening in different places. Can you back off here and
Yeah. The fire department spent, how much did they spend on the fireboat? Holy moly.
good chunk of change.
Yep,
Nice boat. That's all I can take.
350,000.
Frank,
So the ask was for 55% increase.
Yes,
you
Roger.
said there was no
Exactly.
expenditures on the highway department in 2023, but I see the high pack roller is listed to be replaced in 2023.
have something
Really?
stored on some of the other?
Oh.
HT 15.
HP 15? None of mine.
Right, so it was scheduled to be replaced in 2023, but in fact, they pushed it out to 2027.
We pushed it out to 27. See it, Roger? It says that was the proposal and
Oh, well, it got put in on the wrong line because
no, the one that I'm reading on page 5 shows that it's going to be replaced in 2027. not
The roller?
23.
Is it what we're talking?
yeah, no.
Yeah,
Well, I
HT
think
15.
something didn't line up, because if you follow 2023, then you got the 129,000 for the roller, you follow it across, the 129 is below that.
Yeah, that's
It's
because
in
that's
the
the
withdrawal
withdrawal
line.
line.
That's the withdrawal line,
Oh, okay, all right,
Roger.
okay. Should have put my glasses on.
Oh, yeah, now you.
That all comes back to me now.
So that whole process of challenging, you then encourage them to defer the expenditure.
One of them was this roller.
Yeah.
Okay, like, I don't think we should own a roller, period.
Well, you have to. If you're gonna do roads, you gotta have that roller.
Yeah, you
Got to
got it.
compact.
Okay, and I'm gonna say it again. We roll from March to September, okay? Maybe a little bit in October. All right, so it's 4 or 5 months. Personally, I'd rent a roller. I wouldn't buy a roller, okay? Because there's maintenance and everything else. Now, this roller, they got a great deal,
Right.
okay? Because it was Army surplus. That's a little different story. I mean, they probably paid nothing for it, okay? And now they're suggesting here, but having been in that business, okay, those rollers are only used for 3 or 4 months out of the year, period. Period. Okay, unless we're compacting wood, you know? I mean, that's,
So next year we'll say to them, can you get us a price on renting it? You know, So
That's what
maybe
I-
we can
That's what I would do.
trim a little bit more money.
That's what I would do. I would say.
I mean, because as it is right now, I mean, next year, you know, our maybe we can get our number
Well,
back down to a
So do you
dollar.
remember what Scott said? And I asked him that question. Well, when we really need it, we can't find one.
Well, you already lined it up for
You line
March
it up.
to,
You line it up
March
ahead of
to
time.
whatever date.
You know, I mean, these rollers are, you know, they're expensive, but they're only utilized for a short period of time. And then they sit. And let me tell you, when rollers sit and the bearings sit and everything sit, I don't like it. It's not good for the piece of equipment. It just isn't.
They get dry.
I had a lot of rollers and
Probably why they had to buy that new triax trailer this year too, to move the roller around.
Yeah, that's more for the excavator.
so the only good news I have for you on the fire department is if we do what this plan says, by 2028, we won't be looking to having big expenditures down the road for a while. I'm hoping that ladder truck just keeps extended out. By the time we buy one, maybe it'll be like $1.5 million, but who knows?
Yeah, but they're gonna have their new fire station by then. I mean, you gotta have a new fire truck if you. It's in the master plan. You have to buy it because it's in the master plan.
Plan, the key word being plan, capital improvement plan, master plan.
Any other questions for me?
This is good stuff. Thank you. Good job.
Welcome, Mark.
Oh, you got the whole
We,
group.
we tried our best, but
No, you did.
we-
I mean,
we
you
did-
took 50
we did-
cents on the dollar out.
trust me when I tell you, there was pushback
Yeah.
to every department head. With the exception, I still do not understand our school at all. Okay, I don't get it. I absolutely do not know. This money just seems to materialize, you know, I don't, but it didn't impact my buck that I was looking to try to hold on to.
So
Jesus.
go further then. Why don't you, what's the black box on the school system?
If he knew that, he'd understand it.
It's just.
Looking for another one.
It's just amazing to me. But the other interesting part about it is when I look at our tax rate versus the rest of the 7 towns around the lake. We're doing
Really good.
reasonably well, you know, but I'd like to see it better. I'd like to see us
Is there,
pinch it.
is there a dollar, how many thousand per child or something like that? Do you have any
Well, you
benchmark?
know, if you look at Tuftonboro, okay, it's, you know, versus our tax rate. Look at Wolfboro versus our tax rate, okay? I'm kind of glad that I live in Alton, you know?
Doesn't mean you can't do better though, at the end of the day,
But
right?
it doesn't mean that we can't do better,
Yeah.
okay? So we need to be prudent. We need to be accountable to our citizens. And if I'm given the privilege to be on this board, to me, it's prudent to try to stay close to that buck as best we can.
We're thrilled to have you, let me tell you.
Well,
The whole,
The
I mean-
capital expenditure would way be out of line if it wasn't challenged. huh?
well, the key is you have to have town participation and it's important. People depend on it now.
Tom, what I noticed with the heads were they were reasonably comfortable that we were trying our best to give them what their needs were, but not overdo it.
Yep.
And we kept reminding them, we have a citizenry that we need to be responsive to. We need to give them what they're looking for in terms of services, but at the same time, this is not carte blanche. We don't have, you know, there are a lot of citizens that struggle every day to live in this town, and we need to be cognizant of that. Period. So that's my goal. And I think that's what the committee's goal is. And we have an excellent group of people that have, you know, try to balance that, and still provide the services that our citizenry is looking for. But I thought it was important for you guys to see that 70 cents. Okay, it's a big number.
Is it possible for you guys to do a pie chart?
I think we could.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
the key to it is if that's the cover in a sense,
Yeah,
the first thing somebody sees is where the bulk is and the just little tiny slivers for other things.
right.
And it makes them focus on it and realize how crucial it is.
I think it would be relatively easy for us to have a pie chart,
Yeah.
okay, with the color coded. Okay, and this is the highway department. This is the fire department. But I think what I'd want to break down is highway equipment, highway.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Highway.
Definitely. Yeah.
You
Highway.
can do that.
Road and maintenance.
I mean,
you
this
know,
is all built in Excel,
so that-
right?
So that,
Yeah, it's
So,
an Excel sheet.
yeah, so
so that
it's,
it doesn't get convoluted.
Yeah.
Bill, any questions?
Oh, looks good.
I love it. I love your questions. I really do.
it's excellent.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you don't have anything else for me, I'm going
I
home.
think, is the rest of the board good?
Think we're good?
All right.
Good.
Thank
Lot of
you.
Thank you very
reading.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you,
Well
Gabby.
done. Thanks for your hard work.
So question, when are we having a,
Public hearing?
well, yeah, I guess, public hearing will be with one of our meetings
So.
or separate?
So they're normally held at the November planning board
Thank you,
meeting,
Thank you.
which is November 15th. And I would like to also schedule a backup date
Yep.
for November 22nd,
Sounds good.
just in case there's no quorum or, the weather starts flying earlier than
When's Thanksgiving?
anticipated.
It's
It's right
quite
after that.
Yeah,
It's after that. Yeah.
the week after that?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I will entertain one more motion.
I move we adjourn.
I think unanimous first and seconds. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.